Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I'm excited to share my conversation today with Hera Dagan. She is the founder and CEO of The Written World, a copywriting and content creation agency based in sunny Miami, Florida. She serves small businesses and creative service agencies, not only here in the US, but also in Canada as well. Haley worked in hospitality marketing for almost a decade before losing her corporate job during the pandemic. Lots of talk of that going on right now with a lot of the tech companies as well, lots of layoffs. Instead of looking at another quote unquote corporate job, she looked within and dove headfirst into entrepreneurship. Now, 2 years later, she leads a team of 6 and brings her love of the written word to help others do what they love while getting more visibility online. Welcome to the show today, Haley.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to share your story. So you, like many people, migrated from the Northeast to the South, but you did it before it was like really cool and hip to do it during the pandemic. You went to college in Florida. So talk about that early choice that you made in education, and then we'll get into your career path.
Sure. So for me, writing was, from the time I could hold a pencil, writing was always a passion of mine. I was always that, little girl writing the short stories and doing the poetry and participating in the literary magazines throughout, growing up. I actually was editor-in-chief of my school newspaper in high school. So when it came time to applying for colleges, I really was looking at universities that had good journalism programs, and good public relations programs, because, it was back then, it was one of those things where people were like, writing, you want to be a writer? It's like being an actress, you're going to live on ramen noodles. And, so I was like, okay, well, how can I combine my love of writing, and journalism? PR kind of fit that field at the time. And when I started looking at schools, I said, I am tired of the winter. So where can I go that has a great journalism school that is in sunny weather? And I ended up at the University of Florida in Gainesville. So yes, I am sort of an OG Miamian now, because I moved right after college down to Miami and started my life here. And I go back to visit New York, but when it's warm, not when it's cold anymore.
Yeah, no, so as a California girl born and raised, I don't know how people do it. I'm just going to be honest. I've never shoveled snow a day in my life.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? The first snowfall is always beautiful, but all the subsequent snowfalls, you just get over it very quickly. So I'm glad to be down here now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did your master's degree there as well.
I did. Yeah. So I had a great opportunity when it came to education, because the master's program down there at UF, I was actually able to start it early in conjunction with my undergraduate. So I took the GMAT my sophomore year of college, and I started my master's program my junior year. So I ended up actually technically graduating a year early from my undergraduate. So within the 4 years, I graduated with my undergraduate in public relations and then a graduate degree in business management.
Wow. I haven't heard the phrase GMAT in a long time. Do they even still, I wonder if they use that in business school anymore. I took the GMAT. I did my master's like 4 years after I did my undergrad, and I just sucked at the GMAT. That was the hardest test for me. I think I like barely squeezed by to get in. It was
definitely not my favorite, but I got it over with, and they do still have it today. So I think there's probably a lot more flexibility now with having work experience, and some of the schools will waive the scores or the need for the scores, but it does still exist.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So it looks like, you had a couple internships, it looks like when you were in college, marketing, communications, fashion fashion and accessories PR. That must have been fun.
Yes.
And then you went into the world of public relations. Talk about that.
Yeah. So I did a lot of those internships, like you mentioned, because I mean, even as you get older, and I know we were talking a little bit about this earlier before we hopped on, but you never really know what you want to do until you're in there and you're doing it every single day. And then you're like, you know what, is this really what I see for myself for the rest of my life? So I felt like those internships were so important, and I did them in various fields. So I did them all within public relations and communications, but one was for a health tech company, and one was for fashion and accessories PR, and one was for travel. And for me, the one that really stuck with me was the travel. I've always loved traveling, and I've always loved the writing aspect. And to me, I was like, okay, if I could pursue a career that combined these two things, I would love to do that. And that's when I started kind of that trajectory of moving from PR into more of those marketing roles. I worked at an email marketing agency within the travel and hospitality space for a few years. And then after that, decided, you know what, I had the agency experience. I wanted to get the in-house experience. And that's when I ended up moving into marketing at the W Hotel in Fort Lauderdale, and had a whole variety of experience, my hands in basically every aspect of marketing that you possibly could do. From doing events and doing influencer management and public relations, bringing journalists and fam trips to the property, having those communications on property with guests and being able to share all the happenings at the hotel. What type of activations were we going to have when guests came for big event weekends and things like that. So it really was that like 360-degree type of experience there. And, that was where I was up until the pandemic. And really, if you would have asked me then, I would have said, I'm probably going to spend my whole life working in hospitality marketing, working in corporate America for a big organization. Obviously W was part of Starwood and then acquired by Marriott during my time there. And it's a huge organization with thousands of hotels around the world. And I felt, you know what, this is probably where I'll be forever. But you know what? Life had other plans for the entire world. And then the pandemic happened, and that's when everything shifted for me.
Yeah, I bet. Okay. So I want to get into this more. And then of course the decision to launch your own business from here, but I have to take a pit stop. I go back a few positions before that. I love chocolate, Haley.
Oh, yes.
So you gotta mention Hershey.
Yes. So actually my first job out of school was for the Hershey company. And it's so funny growing up in the Northeast, like for us going to Hershey was like how people in Florida go to Disney. You go on the weekend, you go to Hershey Park, and, you go with the whole family and you have a great weekend there. And so for me, Reese's are my absolute favorite candy. So when I was getting ready to graduate and I was going to the career fairs and I was making a lot of connections, I had met a girl who was working for the Hershey company. And I was like, don't you have to live in Pennsylvania? She's like, no, we have positions all over the country. And, they're considered sales positions, but you're in person, you're meeting so many, key decision makers at the store level, at the regional level. And it seemed like a really good way to combine my experience with PR and promoting different, brands, my marketing experience, and then, ultimately just putting myself out there for the sales piece of it. And so I started as a sales representative for the Hershey company. It was my first job, and it was amazing experience. And I always say, if you want to really build confidence, get a job in sales, because to be face to face and to have people just say no, or, give those objections to you. Obviously we get rejected over emails and different things all the time, but to be face to face and have someone tell you no is the best learning experience you can ever have. So yeah, it was a great experience. And to this day, I still speak to my coworkers, from Hershey, and some have moved on and some are still with the organization, but it was a great organization and definitely a great first job right out of school.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, let's get back to the W.
Yes.
Passion for, I'm sure you got to see a lot of amazing things and,
Oh, yeah.
hopefully get some travel in as part of all
Absolutely.
this. Yeah, absolutely. And such a well-recognized brand. So yes, we all know what happened in March
Yes.
2020. You were as communications, doing
Hmm.
PR, marketing, all this exciting stuff for the organization.
Hmm.
What did those early days or early weeks feel like, in the hospitality industry when we all realized like, oh goodness, this is going to last longer than, a week?
Definitely. Well, it's so funny because I remember so vividly taking a few folders home and saying, you know what, like we'll probably all work from home for a few weeks. So let me just take these important folders and some of the like main projects that I was working on. Let me take these folders home and, I'll just start working from home and let's see what happens. And I remember when we all jumped on like a call and it was like, listen, we don't know what's going on. Right now, everything's closed. The hotel shut down. And we can't continue to keep a whole staff worth of people. We had a few hundred employees without any guests and without having a property. So there was just so much uncertainty. And I remember getting on like weekly calls and it kind of went from, oh, okay, this looks like it's going to be a few weeks to more and more uncertain. Like, is travel ever going to come back? Like, are people going to leave their homes? Are people going to go in between states, let alone travel internationally again? And I think that there was so much fear around that. And for me, I'm a big believer in, what you can only control what you can control. And the only thing that I had right in front of me was the fact that I was safe. I was home with my family. I had my youngest, or now he's my oldest, but my little one was only 1 year old. So I was like, you know what? I've been working so hard and such long hours, and this gives me an opportunity to spend a little bit of time with him and let's see what kind of unfolds in these next few months.
Absolutely. Ooh, that was a crazy time. I remember it
Yes,
well. Yeah. So, obviously, the things didn't come back in a couple of weeks, and the
exactly.
world of hospitality changed dramatically. Did you see a layoff coming?
Yes. So I think that was pretty evident. I think, you were starting to hear in the news all these companies laying off their employees and furloughing people. So I knew it was coming. And I had never been laid off, fired or anything in my life. So I was like, I don't even know what this like means. And it was kind of like a layoff with the hope that, we'll at some point we'll bring everybody back. And, we working with us, has been absolutely amazing. I had been at the property for years, and a lot of the people had been at the property for many years. And we kind of all were holding on to that hope that the roles would come back eventually, but knowing that, how could they continue to sustain a staff of people when there were no guests coming to check into the hotel?
Yeah, yeah. My goodness. So when that news finally came, what was going on in your mind? Were you like, okay, this is my time. I'm gonna become an entrepreneur, or did you have other thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? My first thought was, okay, well, luckily, we were able to get unemployment. So I was like, you know what? Let me take the unemployment. Let me spend some quality time with my 1 year old who, working full time and being a mom, it's always a difficult balance. So I said, let's wait and see. Let's give it, a few weeks and let's see what's going to happen. And, I really was able to enjoy the time home. My husband was home. He works in real estate, so he has a flexible job anyway. So he was able to be home, and we really spent good quality time. March in Florida is like the best weather ever, which we're experiencing right now. So I was like, let me sit in my backyard, something I never do. It's like, when you live somewhere else, you're outside as soon as it's warm, like in New York. And then in Florida, you're like, it's warm all the time. So you spend so much time indoors. So I really was just like, okay, let's take a few weeks. Let's accept the unemployment and let's see, what's going to happen. And I think once those few weeks went by and we realized, okay, this isn't going to change anytime soon, the wheels started turning for me to see what my next opportunity was going to be.
Yeah, awesome. And so what was that kind of moment in time where you're like, okay, I'm doing this on my own. I'm not going back?
Yeah. So, I had started in 2018. I actually started the written world, and it was my side hustle. It was my passion project. I had actually, before the written world, I had my own travel blog, which was really a product of me working in hospitality and having the ability to travel the world and stay at all these incredible properties around the world. So I had started a travel blog. I absolutely loved blogging. And then when I got pregnant with my son in 2018, I was like, you know what? My life is not going to be that interesting anymore. Who's going to want to keep reading my blog posts when I'm just going to stay home because I'm not going on these exotic adventures anymore? And that's when the written worlds came about, because I was like, you know what? I know I love doing this, and I've been working in marketing for so long. Let me start doing this for other companies and other people who need that additional support, who maybe can't have someone in-house at their company working on content for them. Let me be that person. And I did it as my side hustle. So I was working full time at the hotel, doing marketing, working events, crazy hours. And then in my spare time, I was blogging. It started with blogging, and I was helping, with some social media here and there. So once I realized, okay, this, position at the property that I love so much is not coming back anytime soon, I said, why don't I just go for it? I never anticipated being a business owner, being an entrepreneur. I always loved the ability to work for other people, but I said, you know what? I think it's my chance. And I think this is the universe saying it's time to try something different. And there's nowhere to go from here but up. So I decided, let's take the written world and let's create an Instagram page. Let's make a logo for it and let's launch it full time and see what happens.
Awesome. That's great. And so you've had full-time unemployment for a year and a half or so. Is that right?
No, less. So I was on unemployment until July. So we were
Okay.
laid off in March, and then
Okay.
I was on unemployment until July.
Got it.
At least down in Florida. I know some of the other states I think kept extending and extending, but down here, it was until July. And then at the end of the July, I launched my Instagram page for the written world. And now here I am talking to you. So
Yeah,
it
that's
was a
so
good decision.
exciting. Absolutely. Well, as someone who's been unemployable for 20 years, yes, definitely a good decision. So talk about maybe a couple examples, if you would, Haley, of some clients that you work with or worked with, the type of work you do for clients.
Yeah. So I always say like purpose-driven copywriting and content creation, because what we really do is get to know our clients and what their goals are for their business, and then how we can support that through content. And I love when people ask me like, well, who are your clients? Because we have a really wide range of clients. We work with many different industries, from e-com businesses to health tech companies, to other marketing and creative service agencies. And I think the common thread that really ties all of our clients together is their belief and their conviction that content is what's really needed to drive goals, not just marketing goals, but drive business goals. And it's funny because a few months ago, when that audio came out on Reels and TikTok, that was like, everything is content. I was like, yes, finally, people recognize that content is all around us, and every business, no matter what industry you're in, you really need to hone in on being able to produce purpose-driven content that connects with your audience and is really able to captivate them and then ultimately convert them to whatever action it is that you want them to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Any industries in particular or types of clients that you really enjoy working with?
We love working with all types of businesses, but I think in the last year or so, we've really had a lot of agencies. And that's why we started with small businesses, and then we added the agency arm to the business, because we saw a gap in the market where so many, service-based business owners were starting to scale their own businesses, and they realized that the writing piece of it was just so difficult for them to scale because it required so much time. And I think that we kind of became that agency to fill the void for them. So rather than them needing to hire an expensive full-time staff member, they were able to just outsource to our agency. So I think that that's, been a great type of client for us. And then I think we also have had a great relationship with one of our clients who's really, really OG, going on, over 2 years now, an event planning agency, because we have the opportunity not only to do all the content creation for the event planning agency, but every time they bring in an event, they're able to expand their own services, and they offer our services as part of their event. So they'll do promotion, social media, blogging, for the months leading up to the event to help drive ticket sales, to help spread awareness about the event. So I think that's also been a really fun client for us, because we not only get to work directly with a client, but then we get to work with all the clients' clients in promoting all different kinds of events, from, nonprofits to big galas and corporate events, and, onboarding initiatives for companies. So that's been a really fun one too.
I love it. Wow. So you have grown quick. You have a team of 6. Is that right? Oh my goodness. That is really quick growth, Haley.
Yes. I always say, like, it's been wild, but it's been the most incredible journey. And I think, so often we start things with not necessarily the clearest picture of where they're going to end up. And when I did make the decision to make the written world my full-time job, it was like Haley, Haley, the copywriter. And the clients that I brought on were just working with me directly. And then it got to this point where I was having to turn down business and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I don't have any availability for the next few months, or, I'm booking now for 3 months from now. And it actually was a conversation with my husband that really got the wheels turning, where he's like, okay, but what do you need to not say no? Like, what is the biggest hindrance? And I said, you know what, I need help. And so I started with bringing on a VA. I had brought on in May of 2021, and she's now my operations manager. So she's grown with us too. And I've brought on a content manager, and I've brought on a senior copywriter. So we've really been able to grow and scale, because I think I've really been able to look within and say, okay, where are the gaps, and where am I kind of holding up the process? Like, if I'm a bottleneck in something, how can I remove myself and bring somebody in that can help us to continue moving forward? And, that's kind of how the agency has just snowballed and grown in the past 2 years. And it's been amazing to see kind of the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, but also how incredibly rewarding it can be.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I am excited for your growth and all the things that you're doing. What's 1 or 2 things that you're really looking forward to, Haley, in this upcoming year?
Yeah, so I think that this upcoming year, we're really looking to expand our services. So still being very content focused and, driven by all the words that you need to share online, but we're looking to start expanding our services and just adding more content into the packages that we offer. So where now you can sign on for maybe just blogging or just social media, we're looking to really grow those packages, because our clients are demanding, and I see our clients are coming to us and saying, you know what, I want to add on, and I want to add this. And, with all the social media now, you have to have a constant, always on presence. So it's, how can I optimize my website? How can I get more search traffic from Google? And we do that through blogging and website copywriting. But at the same time, I also want to be growing on social media, and I also want to be growing my email list. So we've seen this really high demand from our clients for really full circle content creation. So I'm really looking forward to all the packages that we have to come and that we're going to be launching in the next few months that really bring that full circle content and copywriting together to empower these businesses and creative service agencies with everything that they need to grow their own businesses.
Awesome. And do you see yourself growing your team further?
Definitely. Yes, I do. We have a great team, and it's funny because when I first started, the thought of like company culture and all of that wasn't necessarily top of mind. And I think that we've just morphed into a really incredible, collaborative and uplifting culture. We're collaborative with our clients. We're collaborative amongst each other. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to continuing to expand the team in the future. And we have also signed office space with a new office that's supposed to open in a few months. So that's another thing we're really looking forward to. Is being able to have that place that we all call home. I think, of course, being in the pandemic and these past few years, the whole work from home culture has been huge, but I think people are still missing and craving that in-person interaction. So being able to give my team that flexibility and a place to call home away from home and come in and just collaborate, put our heads together and come out with some really great content ideas. I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Absolutely. Yes. As someone who owns a co-working space, I'm a big proponent
Exactly.
of actually
You
seeing
know
people
all
face to
about
face.
that. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, Haley, if our listeners want to learn more about your business or get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Absolutely. Well, you can always visit our website at thewrittenworldsagency.com. You can hit the contact link and, we'll be in touch, or pretty much every social media channel. We're at The Written World. So you can find us either at our website or on social media. We love meeting, new people and building our community. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time, Haley.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.